The Negro Justice League.
Hi, welcome to the Negro Justice League, a Black Nerd Podcast, episode 87. I'm your host, Cherry.
It's your boy, Jay.
And today we have two guests. We have our returning champion. Introduce yourself, madam.
Greetings to everybody. This is Jasyln, aka Nubia, holding it down.
Honestly, I didn't introduce you because I didn't know if I was supposed to call you Jasyln or Nubia. So it's like, hey, do your thing. But and we also have another guest. Right. We got Uncle K, aka Kulton, in the house. What up? Say what's up.
What it is, what it do, what it does, folks.
Yeah, he threw up a peace sign for the people who can't see. Just all of you.
For the mute and the blind.
All right, cool cat.
All right, we off to a strong start. Let's get in the news. First of all,
what voice was that?
Stop it. Ben Affleck, who I am not a huge fan of, but he all right. So here's what we're doing. We're addressing a rumor. There's a rumor that Ben Affleck is interested in producing a film about the Democratic Republic of the Congo and some of their issues with Belgian occupation, which is like a really big thing if you're into African history. So he and I heard this, I say it's a rumor because I saw it in like one place a couple days ago and never saw it again. And I think it may be an old rumor. He has I guess it's a nonprofit called the Eastern Congo Initiative, where he goes back and forth to DRC and does basically like grassroots type social welfare stuff to help people in DRC specifically. And so I guess being over there, if you go there, they're very rooted in their history, and they talk a lot about how they were occupied by the Belgians and what happened and what that did to the country and how that destroyed the country. So it's a big deal there, and I guess him being there, he decided he wanted to make a movie about it. So that may or may not happen, but I mean, we're just gonna put that out there as a rumor that I heard. Also, this is not a rumor. Billy D. Williams recently announced or came out as gender fluid, which was like a big deal to everybody except people who actually understand gender fluidity. It basically means he doesn't ascribe to specific gender roles. He doesn't do the manly man thing, but he's also not a femme. Like, he just feels like he can be himself, and wherever that takes him, that's what he can do. Obviously, a lot of people are upset about this. They think it means he's gay or bisexual, and there's a strong difference between gender and sexuality. It's really not a comment on who he's attracted to or who he sleeps with, more a comment on how he feels about himself. So it's really not a big deal at all, but people are feeling some type of way because that's what people do.
I guess people feel that type of way just because that's what people do, because if you've ever just kind of seen Billy D. Williams outside of his roles, it's not that big of a surprise.
I mean, all that silk and stuff he got on and the perm, and it's like, yeah.
It was his idea to have a cape.
And you know how we feel about capes. So yeah, I really don't care that he feels he's gender fluid. I don't think it's even worth mentioning. But I think the people that I see that are most upset are people that don't know what gender fluid is. Like, they get really mad and they go, what is it? And it's like, are you mad or do you not know what it is? So it's both. It's both. So, I mean, congrats to him on acknowledging it, but it's really, it is what it is. Jay, go ahead.
So, speaking on some fabulous news, Joker 2 has officially been announced as coming out, obviously, with Joker already making $1 billion and being the highest rated R-rated movie. Todd Phillips, who was the director, basically has been given somewhat of some free reign in WB, with being able to make, of course, the sequel and also maybe some other DC character origins. Apparently, he has a portfolio of origin movies he would love to do for some big and lesser known DC characters, and Joker making $1 billion basically has given him the energy to make that step. So look out for more information on Joker 2. Obviously, it's probably going to still have Joaquin Phoenix, who's probably going to win an Oscar at least nod because of this movie. So it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, Joker 2 has officially been announced. Speaking of movies that have been announced,
I don't know that I want to see a Joker 2 right now. I say that to say it ended in a way that the story can continue, obviously. But I would rather see some of these other origin stories before we go further into this character. Like, we've covered the Joker extensively. We have had enough. He can be included because he still lives in Gotham in someone else's story, but I feel like we can go wider before we go longer. Meaning, what's Poison Ivy doing? What's Catwoman doing? Even what's Bruce doing? I know he's a kid, but like somebody somewhere, other than specifically focusing on his Joker, I don't know.
But
I mean,
they
this-
don't want to follow the money though.
Here's the thing, though. But Iron Man came out, was great. Several other movies came out before Iron Man 2 came out. We do have an Iron Man 2, but it wasn't the next movie. So we go wider before we go longer.
Oh, I 100% agree, but people are very,
But
greedy.
DC has a history of having trouble with their world building.
That part.
Exactly.
So we'll see. Whatever. All right, go ahead.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's exactly it. But speaking of world building, so if you don't know, Sonic the Hedgehog, that favorite marsupial, is getting a movie. And about 5 or 6 months ago, they initially released the first like teaser trailer and image, and let's just be honest, everyone hated Sonic the Hedgehog. The design of this movie character made the entire unity of the internet say, nah fam, this ain't it. So bad, in fact, that the producers actually went on Twitter and said, okay, we heard it, we're going to change how he looks to a more original design. 6 months have passed, they just released the trailer, and it is exactly how Sonic should look. Apparently they spent $5 million just on doing all of this, but I feel like I gotta at least see the movie now, even though I know it's
because we
gonna be
bullied
trash.
people into making it good, so now we gotta show up.
Right. Like you got to
Like,
do
you
it just
said
so they'll
5
listen to
mil.
us next time.
And that was my question. Was like, who is the target audience for this? I say that to say I'm part of the generation that grew up playing Sonic. I still play Sonic sometimes now, but I'm also old enough that I don't care to see a movie about it. As far as children, my son knows who Sonic is, but doesn't play the games, doesn't care about it, doesn't watch the cartoon. There's no fan base in his generation, but he's the generation that would go see these types of movies. So it's like, who is supposed to show up? Because the kids
They
don't
have a
care, and the
movie,
adults
like there
don't
should
care.
be a TV show, like
Or a
Yeah,
game.
a
I mean, that's, or a
something.
game, like a big game,
Yeah.
not a one-off Apple phone game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no, because they're doing what Pikachu did, a Pokemon, but the kids were playing Pokemon still. They're still playing the cards. They're still playing the games. It's still a thing. That's not
Not
the
to
case with
mention
Sonic.
we have the new Pokemon games now, so it's kind of reinforcing that. So
Right. I know you
and
want to throw that
Pokemon's
in
one
there.
of those few games. But Pokemon's one of those few games that there literally is generational players who continue to play it.
Right.
Facts.
Like, you can find 40-year-old and you can find 10-year-old, and they could all be playing Pokemon. They could all be playing the same Pokemon game, in truth.
Like Pokemon
So-
Go, everybody name. You saw, I would go on my lunch break and see people in white collars coming out of the state capitol building with their phones in their face trying to catch Pokemon.
Yep.
Big facts.
But they're not playing
Sonic ain't got none of that.
Yeah.
It
It
only
Must be
got
nice to have
nostalgia.
unlimited data.
It is. It is. Yeah, so I don't know who, even though they fixed it, I'm afraid that I don't know that it'll do too well just because I don't know who's supposed to go see it.
And most of us that grew up in the generation that had it, we just feel obligated to see it because they listen to us. So it's kind of like, oh,
I don't
thanks.
feel obligated.
They got my 10. They
I
got my
don't-
10.
Yeah, they got my 10. So
You know how
They
many
said through it.
petitions I done wrote and they ignored that, and they were like, "All right, and it costs
You know,
money too." So yeah,
right, and
I'll
they
give
put
it-
in a lot of money for that. So I'm like, okay, I'll at least go see it.
Mm-mm.
Sir?
So
All right,
Apparently
no,
you
I'm gonna be the
disagree.
bad guy. So I don't really care how much money they spent on it, because the fact of the matter is, they should have done it right in the first place. They could have asked somewhere in the initial production of that monstrosity they decided to call Sonic. Somebody should have looked at this thing. I know someone did look at this thing, probably one of the animators who was hired to do the job, and thought, hey, so you think we should make him look like Sonic? And some idiot said, nah, no one's gonna care. And then they posted the ad, and They got ripped for it. We saved them because they would have dropped that movie and the movie would have made no money. And so they owe us free tickets for giving them free
Not free
that.
tickets.
So were you just like a Sonics fan or something? Because
This
that was
sounds like
real.
this is coming from a bitter place. Like
A super bitter place.
I'm saying that, like, we gave them, essentially, we as a community, when we told them that it sucked, like that the original sucked, we saved them money, like not the other way. Like, we're not obligated to see it. If I see it, I might, but I might not. But I don't feel obligated to see it because we saved them from tanking completely. Because they would have that old Sonic would have not have it would have tanked. Period.
that's
So
fair.
yeah, Sonic's gonna have a new movie out. They did a redesign, so
We'll see how it goes.
I'll see how it goes.
Hashtag obligations.
I do not think Kulton will be here for the review.
No, matter of fact, I feel like we need Colton for this
But
review.
he just said he's not going to see it under any circumstance.
I will pay that ticket.
I said I don't feel obligated. So if I do go, cool. If I don't, if I decide to wait till it comes out on Netflix,
Which won't be long.
If we
like
can get
I'm
him on the
cool
review,
either way.
I will
That's
buy
how I
his
feel.
ticket.
Okay, so Jasyln says she'll buy your ticket if you go review it because she want to hear what you got to say.
Need to hear this.
Okay, when does it come out?
Never.
Anybody? Jay?
Sonic.
2, it comes out, I believe, in March.
Oh,
but I'll
we
have
got
to
plenty of
double check.
time. Never mind.
Oh, Lord. I Googled it and it pulled up the Sonic Drive-In restaurant.
Sir.
Jeez Louise.
See, I got time to say.
Open
nothing
after
anyway.
midnight.
Correction, it comes
told
out
me.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Who is...
No.
Why? Why?
Like, baby, you want to go see this
Why?
little hedgehog?
And
Why? Whose relationship?
The most-
Man.
Relationship goals, babe.
season, yo, the cap of cuffing season, yo. We finna go see Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, we going to Cheesecake Factory.
Listen,
I'm gonna
there's
get your strawberry cheesecake, and we gonna see Sonic at the theater. What's wrong with you?
I will
Nah,
fight.
that's-
I will fight somebody.
And
Like,
I speed my way through the
Hey,
draws
to-
after we're done.
oh my gosh. Moving on.
Yo, to all you fathers out there,
So
you-
about this movie, Seis Manos, this animation on Netflix.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Seis Manos up until the 30 probably, depending.
Alright.
And then Dr. Sleep will come after that. So Seis Manos, I guess we're gonna spoil it's the way it's written. I don't know if you can spoil it because there's so much going on that it's like, is anything a spoiler? It's just stuff happening.
I'll just let
You
you
can
know if
honestly
it was spoilers
talk
or
about
not.
a section of it and not spoil the whole thing because there's just so
There's like
much.
12 storylines going at once.
Right, you got a trilogy going on in a series that can sprout off into a tree of other things going on.
You know what I think this show has the issue of? It has last Airbender goals, which a lot of these animated shows afterwards have, of trying to have this huge depth and characterization that spanned over seasons into like the one Netflix season to catch them. And you get things like this where there's too many storylines and too many characters that should have history to care about in 9 episodes?
But
Where
as someone who does not have a long attention span, particularly for anime, I was engaged because there was so much going on. No,
It's not anime, but
it is. They called
is
it.
animated.
The creators called it Mexicanime. Is what they called it. It
They
was
called
called
it what?
Mexicanime.
Mexican.
That sounds racist.
That's what they called it. And so the creators are the people who also made Castlevania,
Castlevania.
which I didn't like.
wait, what?
Yeah,
What?
This
Yeah,
is Castlevania
same
people.
people who made Castlevania made Seis Manos.
I knew
But
that. I'm talking
Castlevania's
about
amazing.
Cherry.
Y'all knew
not
I didn't
liking
like that.
Castlevania.
Y'all knew that. I
You
watched.
didn't like
I
No,
watched the
she-
first episode twice. So,
Castlevania was
y'all
not
knew that
part of
because everybody
Cherry's.
fried me for it.
Okay.
Me
we
and
won't-
Jar, me and Jay too.
As
So
they
y'all
should
know
have.
when this show comes on, it says a Netflix original anime is in the beginning thing, right?
They can call it anime, but it's not
It's
anime.
not an anime.
Animation.
It's a Mexicanime. That is horrible. Okay, so why are we calling it a Mexicanime? And why is it? Why are we arguing about this? Seis, manos. I didn't take Spanish. What is it? Manos.
Seis
Seis,
manos.
seis manos.
Didn't take Spanish.
Manos.
Seis manos.
What is it? Okay, so that's the first note. The first note is what is this? What is this, y'all? It is a
lot.
anime styled adult cartoon that takes place in Mexico with, are they Japanese characters?
Chinese.
They're Chinese characters. Yeah, because they do go to China. Chinese characters.
They have a Chinese Shaolin like monastery
in a border town in Mexico.
And they follow
Then
Kilo.
a blaxploitation Luke Cage shows up for no reason. To the life of me, I have no idea why he's included in this show.
Black Dynamite.
And then
Demons.
there's also some Chinese exploitation.
There's
going on.
chupacabras everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's demons,
Yeah.
and kung fu, and a lot of kids.
And a lot
Mad
of
kids.
religion.
Mad kids.
People die.
And there's a drug.
There's a drug cartel.
We got drug cartels.
There's
we got
old
guns.
ladies. We got old ladies.
Witchcraft.
We got witchcraft. We got
Orphans.
Yeah.
Dogs. We got monster demon dogs.
Yeah.
Secret Illuminati group.
That.
Right.
Superpowers.
Kidnappings.
We got Danny Trejo.
We
Danny
got
Trejo.
we got gray
We
hair.
got a little bit of everything. We got a dude with
He
an
even
eyebrow.
got a little Oedipus thing going on for a bit.
Yeah. It was a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah. We got an eyebrow. We got somebody with a white eyebrow.
We got gray hairs on one side, which was
Yeah.
not explained.
Someone who was deaf or mute.
But
mean,
did not wait. This is what bothered me about Silencio. Silencio was fine, right? So we put that out there.
He was cute, but he had anger issues.
He was mute, right? And part of I feel like part of why he had anger issues because nobody taught this man to communicate. And
But
I'm
how
like,
do you make somebody communicate when you ain't got no tongue?
sign language. And I'm serious.
There's a whole
like,
language. There's a
he
whole
spent all this
language.
time learning all this kung fu, and you can't talk, like you can't communicate at all. You
They
can
gave that man a chalkboard.
anything.
They
First
gave him a
thing,
chalkboard.
when
They
was
couldn't
this
talk to
made?
him until he went
What?
into the shadow realm, and all of a sudden
What?
he can communicate. And he said like 3 sentences, like, "You can hear me? What do I do?" And then like that was it. All he said the whole. We were doing a terrible job of reviewing this.
The Yu-Gi-Oh reference, really? Golly. Okay.
Chalkboard for 2 seconds that he used to say, "I don't like that kid," and that was it.
I forgot about that. Speaking of the kid, so we have this kid that
Bruh.
comes, and we think he's
Diego.
about to be the next kung fu master because he's got a lot of talent and like no type of
Damn.
discipline. And then they just
Damn.
kill him. They just kill him dead.
All right.
And that was
They
the end of
didn't
that.
just kill him. They
Listen.
took him out.
Then they
badly.
dropped something. They dropped a statue on him or
They
something.
dropped the
Yeah.
statue of Mary on him and crushed.
Oh, there's lots
To
of
death.
blasphemy. There's lots of blasphemy in this.
Tons of blasphemy.
That's a blasphemy.
A little
Yeah,
bit of a
they-
Cthulhu thing going on. It felt like.
It was everything. The whole thing was a Cthulhu. All of this is Cthulhu.
It's all Cthulhu.
It's Mexicanime. So let's talk about some of the characters. We talked about Silencio and his inability to communicate, which made no sense. Can we talk about Luke Cage, who's I don't know what the character's name is, but I refuse to acknowledge him by anything else.
It's gonna be Luke Cage.
No, his
I'm
real
okay
I know
with
his real
it.
name. It's like something with a B. I forgot his name in the show because I just kept thinking of him as Luke Cage.
Oh, Brister.
Brister, who's an American cop who
And racist.
he's really racist. Like he says horrible things about Mexican people. Like he says the most ignorant
Yeah.
stuff.
How you speak Mexican? How you say this in Mexican?
And
Yeah.
they gave him an awful word.
And I think they this is Mike Coulter at his finest. I think like nobody else could have played this role. If you had, I don't like the role. I don't like the character. I think you could have erased him from the show and nothing would be lost. But Mike Coulter is the man to play this role.
Yes, it was.
He did it.
He did.
Yeah, it was eerily natural for him. Like
It was.
he's been talking this way his whole life.
It was.
He might.
And you didn't
might-
have to see his face, so he didn't have to do a lot of expressive acting. It was just voices. Because you know how I feel. You know how I feel about his acting style is a little dry. But I think it was good for this. That being said, I hated that character, and they should have cut it.
They just wanted to give a male, masculine, sexual counterpart to the sexy policewoman trying to upright her rights to be a strong, independent woman. So
I like that the girls were sexy, but not too sexy.
Right, I liked her.
I like Isabella because she was like Diesel, like she was playing no game. She was smart, she was cute, but she was like super strong, and she held her own with the boys even more so than the fat one. What's his name? Gabriel?
Jesus.
I don't know where I got Gabriel from. Jesus. Yeah, so I liked her. She was my favorite.
And she was thick with 2 C's, so I'm down for it.
She was thick with 2 C's.
She
was. A C for each gauntlet on the arm. I'm with it. I'm fine.
She did have a Wonder Woman moment with her gauntlets at one point.
Yeah.
Y'all got something to say?
I like the action of it. Like whatever made this the anime, which it had to be the action, I did enjoy. It was a lot more adult, gory. Like I said, the kid Domingo dying, and some of the action scene and everything.
It does get really gory.
Yeah. So that does make sense. It's the Castlevania people, and they do know how to do action very fluid. Yeah. So that I enjoyed.
And it was entertaining action and a good balance of not too much fighting. The fighting to storyline ratio was solid.
Was perfect. Love it.
But when you get back to the storyline, you just don't know where you landed.
I struggled with the first 2 or 3 episodes. Like, I'm not watching this. I don't know what's going on. This is whack. But I forced myself to watch it so y'all wouldn't say nothing. And by maybe 3 or 4 episodes, I kind of knew who everybody was and had at least a solid idea of what was happening and was okay.
There's always a middle story that was continuously being followed, but they just kept adding extra parts every other episode.
Right.
You know, like one of the main villains of the whole movie comes in the second to last episode.
Yeah. You got random immortal brother of the monk guy who, I'm not his real brother. I just wanted something he stole from me, and now I'm going to kidnap Silencio and breed him. Right. Breed him into my next whatever and enter him into the fold by force.
Well, we have to have season 2. But the season 2 obviously is going to take place in China, and I like it being Mexican. I like being in Mexico because how often do you get that? Where else are you going to get this?
And it was cool. Like it was just a lot going on though.
Nah, you're not going to China. Their secret bases in like New Mexico or somewhere.
No, they took that man to China at the end.
They did.
They got a Chinatown in New Mexico.
Why do they have a base? Why do they have a base in Mexico? Did we get that?
No, he's.
Why is anything in this? Why are we in Mexico in this? I don't.
Drug cartel reasons.
Because it's Mexicanime.
Mexicanime. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it.
Solid. Like they did really well with that. It's just the plot was all over the place, and yeah, like you said, you got the main story, but then you got all this extra stuff going on that neither ends nor begins, and it's just kind of like, so what are we doing next? Who are we following? Where is this actually going to go? You can make it into its own storyline just from the ending itself. You can split that into 3 different ways.
You're allowed to let a plot. You're allowed to let a plot episode or a plot season kind of be underwhelming if you build a solid base. But if you start with everything at the beginning and the end still is kind of you're not really making a lot of people want to continue.
Yeah,
other than those who just have a problem stopping stuff.
It narrowed towards the end. Like it started really wide with so much going on. Like even when they killed the kid, I was more shocked than anything. It was like, whoa, they killed the kid, more than it was like, oh my god, but everything was so broad. And then towards the end they start to focus in onto one story. Like as they kill people off, they narrow it down, and I don't know if that's necessarily the best tactic, because like you said, you lose people on the front end.
Exactly. Because what if you didn't like Silencio? What if you didn't care for him because he's just a mute anger person, and now he's like the strongest one there is, and now we're gonna follow him next?
A mute anger person.
I don't have a better phrase for that, but he was a violent mute.
Yeah, I don't know why they teach this boy some sign language. That's all he had to do. You had to teach him kung fu. Just teach him how to talk.
You taught him how to break bricks with his hands and feet and jump into the air and do a triple backflip, but you can't teach him how to say hello
or thank you or please
or I'm in pain.
I was frustrated with that. I was really, really like, y'all have no means of communicating with this man. They just talk at him. Like they talk and he just stares.
Yeah.
I'd be angry too. Shoot.
Blink once for yes, twice for no, and punch people to death for any other answer. Okay.
Is anybody gonna get Jesus in the treatment? I was worried about that boy the whole show. Like
Jesus is like the old fat version of Sokka. And less funny. That's my problem with him. But he was supposed to be funny.
Yeah, he was there to be the comedic relief.
He was supposed to be funny, but he wasn't.
He didn't do a lot of anything. Like as far as the trio goes, the three kids that were supposed to be, or young adults that were supposed to be following, Isabella and Silencio have their stories, but Jesus, do we even know? Did they tell us why he drinks?
No. And I wish they would have. That's what I was waiting on, because I liked Jesus. I thought it was great. He's this big teddy bear who uses, I forget what his actual martial arts was, but like his style was cool. And I'm like, okay, why does he drink then? Because if he wouldn't, like, are we actually going to go for the drunken monkey style? Like, what are we going for with this? And then they just kind of left him at the wayside as this big fat drunk. And then
as the story progressed, we lose him.
Yeah.
Because Isabella gets possessed, Silencio gets kidnapped, and Jesus is just drinking.
Right. R.I.P. for the family. Like, what do we... I don't understand.
In general, they didn't really have enough character development for anybody. It's kind of the opposite of what we were saying before as far as the DC universe, where, like, they probably need to go wider and as opposed to going long. This one, they went way too wide, and they didn't go long enough with a single person. It's...
Look at you tying stuff in. I'm proud of you.
I see it. He reached back at all that. He was listening. Look at that.
Yeah.
He's right though.
I was actually paying attention for once.
There's only 8 30-minute episodes. So we're talking about 4 hours of content. So you can't have 20 characters with, 15 storylines interwoven and not think you're going to lose some people by the wayside.
And then you kill off 15 of them before we're done in these 4 hours.
And then you leave and go to China, so...
Right. Like,
none of it really mattered.
Oh,
we ain't got no adults. This one lady's going to take care of these kids. Bye, Garcia.
Ain't no more adults.
we going to leave you with a town full of kids. Hold it down.
Like, Neverland has gone to Mexico, and we're just going to leave this at this while we go to China. Okay,
Even
cool.
That,
sounds great.
El Balde went and killed every adult in the town. And I feel like it was, like, not an afterthought, but it wasn't even a big deal story-wise. Like, it should have been bigger. Like, when you kill every adult in a town and you leave a city full of orphans, it should have more weight, more significance in the storyline. And I feel like it was just like they're dumping bodies over there.
Right. They basically made jokes about the orphans getting the gun from that one guy and like, haha, adults all think we're stupid and now we run the place kind of thing. And it was like...
And then that was it, yeah.
That was also completely unnecessary for the storyline. Like, it did nothing. Even those little kids stealing the guns, all of that, what was gained?
Mm-hmm.
So cocaine. I feel like a lot of cuts could have been made to the story to narrow it down and to focus a little more on what's important, but whatever. All right, so we're going to go ahead and grade this. We're going to do an A through F scale. Kulton, what is your grade on an A through F?
C+.
Okay. Jasyln?
B-, mostly for the fight scenes.
J?
Oh, A+, definitely. This is easily...
Wow.
It's a B. I think I was the first one to bring this up, so clearly I liked it. And while it did kind of peter at the end, it was enough to make me... It was enough to make me want to see a season 2. I think the action was amazing for an animated series, and that's kind of all I really wanted to see. Was this gonna be a Western anime blaxploitation cartoon? And yeah, that's what it was. So it's a B. Yeah.
As someone who can probably count on your fingers the number of anime I'll actually watch, and I did finish this, I think that's saying something. So I'm going to go with a B- just because it was actually worth my time. I gave my critiques, right? It was too wide. We could focus a little bit more on some of the content. And it wasn't bad though. Like I'm interested in the Mexicanime genre, right? Like we never
The genre.
the genre. The Mexicanime genre. We've got what? Dora the Explorer. We've got this.
Ma'am.
No, you will not.
Ma'am.
Oh, yeah, we got Dora, we got Diego, and now we got Seis Manos. Like,
So all three is the
like,
trilogy.
Also,
we
why
getting
is,
deep.
why is the show called Seis Manos? I mean, I understand that it ties into some of the
got two
the
hands each.
lore.
And everybody can catch
Six
these hands.
Oh, it's three of them with two hands.
3 little orphan kids, each of them
But
got
that's not
2
the
hands.
explanation that was given.
3 kids, 6 hands, 2 tongues.
And everybody.
Wow. It took a second. Wow.
I'm done. And with that,
With that, we're moving on.
And y'all wonder why the boy's so mad. Like, when... Cherry like to talk. I know she'd be mad. What?
I'll learn some sign language
you
immediately.
would have to get me a big old whiteboard and just an indispensable marker.
Y'all, on a side related note, y'all saw that one video of the 2 girls like cussing each other out in sign language? Yo, okay. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see.
The only reason this movie was made, I feel like, in the 70s and 80s, other than the black exploitation kung fu movie period, is because otherwise they would have had cell phones. And you telling me that boy wouldn't just be texting everybody?
Like, I hate y'all. Sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what year it was. I thought that's just the way Mexico is.
Yeah, it was kind of a flavor that they added.
We have friends
with,
and fans from this region.
Oh. Do we?
Yes.
We got Mexican listeners?
Yes.
Shout out to the homies south of the border. Thanks for listening.
Good job, Jerry.
We feel you. No, seriously though, like there wasn't a lot to tie us to any year because we have like cathedrals, like churches. We have where they live. What is that place called? It's like a dojo type of place. Like
talk about the.
It seemed like
monastery. No.
It seemed like it was just an old town. Like it could be 2019. It could be 1988. Like that's just the way the place looks to me. So I didn't even think about what year this was taking place. The clothes were basic. The cars were old, but I thought they just drove old cars. Like Luke Cage. I thought Luke Cage just came. I mean, he was like a blaxploitation dude. I thought he just came down in a Chevy or whatever he was driving. Like, you know, I didn't.
He was from Detroit, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was
a
time thing. All right, let's get over this. So we graded this. We got an average of a B something. It was all right. If you ain't got nothing to do and you like Mexicanimes, then this is probably the best Mexicanime there is.
the only.
And I didn't make that term up. The creators called it that, so I get to say it. Are you alright?
Yeah, you funny.
Because you know everybody can't see your facial.
I know.
expression.
All they just hear is like, is there some type of flatulence? I know there's close to things.
Is this a helicopter passing by? Are we in a war zone right now?
Okay.
I'm sick.
Could be.
I'm sick of him.
Mr.
So for
Ed,
our listeners
chill.
that don't know who that is, that's Kulton. It's been him the whole time.
The rest of us are fine.
All right. So Dr. Sleep was a Stephen King film, which Stephen King films are having a resurgence. Like they were a big 80s, 90s thing. And now all of a sudden we're having a bunch of them back to back to back.
He needs to give Stranger Things all the props in the world because they started that whole vibe.
Facts. Big facts.
Everybody's into the 80s horror now. We're running it back. I will say, and I will tell y'all this right now, I did not get to see this film. Being a rated R film, it's hard to sneak out the house without your kids, so I didn't get to make it to the movies for this. So I'm gonna fall back a bit, although I am familiar with The Shining, and I think I read the Cliff Notes. I don't think I read the whole book. Jay, I'm gonna let you take over. This is yeah, go ahead. You go ahead, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
So I guess the first thing I want to ask you guys is, did you know that this was tied to The Shining, a sequel to The Shining, or even that there was a book before you saw the movie or found out about the movie?
I thought the book was The Shining. I thought this was a Shining remake, including more content from the book. Because I know The Shining is a book. I've seen the movie, and I know the hotel, I know the blood, I know the girls.
You thought this was an It thing.
So I thought this was, I thought they were doing, I thought this was it. Like, we're just doing another one, and we're going to include more content.
I knew that there was a book. I did not know this was a sequel to The Shining, but I was well aware of the book series and just didn't really get to like read the whole thing. But I love Stephen King. He's messed up in the head, so I was with it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Uncle K?
Honestly, I haven't seen Doctor Sleep. But I did know that it was related to The Shining. So it's kind of like I don't want to see Doctor Sleep because I know it's related to The Shining, and I haven't seen The Shining either because
You haven't seen this
horror movies. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
the biggest fan. Not the biggest fan of horror movies. So like I got to be around the right people. I got to be inspired to watch horror movies. I'm not just going to wake up and just be like, let me go watch a horror movie today. Nah.
And that's why I read the book.
Peer pressure.
I don't do scary movies unless we're having a sleepover. So
this is actually why I'm kind of sad that Cherry is not a part of this conversation.
Because you know I love horror.
Exactly. This is our wheelhouse. There's not too many things me and Cherry absolutely agree on, but horror movies and Harry Potter, we're pretty much on the same vibe with that.
What about Mexicanime? We can add that to the list now.
Please, if they have a season 2, you will not be watching it.
I might.
Okay.
No, don't write it down.
Somebody document this day.
No, this whole thing ain't this whole thing being recorded?
All right, so we got it. Episode 87.
Didn't Cherry say she's gonna watch season 2 of Seis, Manos? God damn it.
Bingo.
I need a French one. What's up with that? We should get a French anime. France anime. Frank anime.
Frank anime?
Sorry, yeah, Frank anime.
Francame?
Francophone anime. All right.
Franime.
Sorry.
Okay.
Dr. Sleep.
So Dr. Sleep, yeah. So I mean, I had no idea this was going to be a sequel, like a legit sequel. I thought it was based in the same world. I thought it was a reimagining of sorts. Mm-hmm. But for it to be an actual sequel to The Shining, I didn't know there was a book, but that makes sense because all of Stephen King's things are always tied to a book. So I actually want to read the book now because from my understanding, it's a lot. It's similar to the movie, but different enough to make it interesting. But I was really surprised of how this is a sequel to The Shining. And the main reason I'm surprised about that, and maybe Terry, you've seen The Shining before, right?
Yes, sir.
And The Shining, how do you feel about it?
I thought it was boring as hell. I thought it had really good content, but I think it was too long. And not in the long wide sense that we're saying, like the movie. There's a lot of dead time. There's a lot of we're just in this hotel and we're writing, and a couple things are creepy. There's a lot of build up. But that happens a lot in 80s movies. Mm-hmm. The 80s horror does have a lot of long buildup. And so I don't try to fault it for that. But for me, it's not a movie that I want to, with a lot of repeat value. Because I do remember being very bored on the first half or so of the movie.
Yeah. 80s movies definitely had those long buildups because they worked so much on the jump scare, which makes sense. That's, Wes Anderson's kind of whole thing. And he was the 80s king. So jump scares needed those long moments of you to be chilled and kind of bored. But
who is Wes Anderson?
Not Wes Anderson.
Wes Craven?
Yeah.
I'm like, does he know somebody I don't?
Wes Craven.
Think about Anthony Anderson. I don't know who you talking about.
No. There is a director named Wes Anderson.
I believe you, but we talk about Wes Craven.
Yeah, Wes Craven. Sorry. So I think this movie was trying to give homage, but also try to make it separate or more updated. And it kind of, I didn't know if this was actually supposed to be a horror movie. It felt like it was supposed to be an action movie that had horror elements.
And as someone who's seen the trailer, it gave horror. It gave more horror than the original Shining, which was why I was excited to see it. I thought they redid the Shining and made it scary.
Jasyln, what did you think?
From reading the book?
Yeah.
I like the plot. Like it was a little bit frantic, but the storyline was good. It kept me interested. And it was decent. Like I liked it. And will I be brave enough to see the movie? Only if Cherry will allow me to spend the night and we have a sleepover. And I can
I mean, we have a
sleep at the foot of her bed.
We're having a sleepover for Sonic, so we might as well add this to the list.
Yo, I'm there for the Sonic and Dr. Sleep combo.
The Sonic and Sleep.
Sleep and Sonic and Sleep.
Sonic and Sleep. We got to sleep in the room.
But I mean,
just make it a weekend.
It was solid. I liked it. I always like his writings. I can read the books and be okay. Unless your imagination run with it. So, it was well done in my opinion.
So we're talking about the movie, we're talking about the books, and we're talking about The Shining. But to give you insight on Dr. Sleep, not only is it about this being a sequel to The Shining, and if you don't know The Shining, long story short, I'm not saying spoilers because it's a 30-year-old movie. A family goes to this rundown old hotel that's in like the middle of the frozen wilderness, and
it's a nice hotel though. Like it's really big, and it's in a beautiful locale. It's just old.
Yeah, it's like one of those 1940 French Riviera type hotels in the middle of the forest somewhere in Middle America, but it looks beautiful. The family's there. The father's trying to write a book, so he kind of needs the solace of the time. His wife is kind of just trying to keep him from not being on edge. The son's in the middle of it. And end of the story ends up being like one of those haunted house horror movies where the whole hotel is haunted. It has evil spirits. They actually possess the dad. They cause the dad, played by Jack Nicholson. This is one of his most famous roles ever.
Yeah.
The whole guy having the axe go through the door and saying, "Here's Johnny," that's from The Shining. And in the end, his family has to kill him or let him die to get away. So this is the son who was from that original movie, played by, of all people, Ewan McGregor. Which I wasn't expecting to see Ewan McGregor playing this character. I only see him as Obi-Wan, I guess.
Yeah.
But apparently, and I don't know if they're retroactively changing The Shining, or if this was part of The Shining and it's been so long that I just don't remember it. But apparently, the boy has powers.
Yep. He has the shine.
He has the shine, which in layman terms is psychic powers, astral projection. He's basically Professor X and like Jean Grey rolled into one.
But with trauma. More trauma, in fact.
Yeah, Danny, with lots more trauma. And when everything happened at the hotel, and this is how the next movie starts, when everything happens at the hotel, he's basically grown up as an adult, mid-30s or 40s, and he hasn't used his power really for anything other than slight little things to make life easier or to make people feel better about themselves, keeping himself hidden.
Yep.
And that's when you find out that this out of nowhere little black girl who is Black Girl is Magic personified.
# Black Girl Magic.
And it's now a story about this little black girl who knows she's strong, realizes she's stronger than anyone else around. And, this white guy who's been kind of trying to live below the level for so long, trying to say sometimes you don't need to shine that bright because you're going to get caught. And I think that's interesting, but it really changes the dynamic of how I would view this movie. I don't know if it's action or horror. It does it well. Like, I really do want to see the book. I really want to read the book and see how the pages go, because Stephen King has a really awesome way of how he writes that I really enjoy. But as a movie, it's just kind of out of nowhere a little bit, even though they talk about this from the beginning of the movie. Like, when you saw the trailer, did it say anything about that at all, Cherry? Like, did you get any ideas of this Raising Dion extraness?
Yeah. I remember seeing the little black girl and that she was doing she had the shining and then she was doing some things. They discussed it, and it did look from the trailer like it was more magic than what we saw in the first one.
I think maybe I just saw the first teaser because that's my new thing. I only want to watch things the first time, like the first teaser, because I don't want anything ruined.
Yeah.
So the only thing I knew was that this was tied to The Shining, and that this was the grown-up boy.
I'm to the point now
where
I don't really watch any trailers anymore. I try my best not to watch any trailers. That being said, I kind of think we as NJL should go back to doing our trailer reviews. on YouTube, just because those are hilarious. And so I was wondering if anybody listening remembers our trailer reviews that we did on YouTube and you want to see those again, holler at us. I'll consider it.
I'll consider it. We'll do it.
All right. Jay, since you saw the movie, do you want to give it a rating? A to F. What do I need? Do you recommend that I actually spend time seeing this movie? As a person who enjoys Stephen King but did not enjoy The Shining.
It's definitely going to be faster paced than The Shining. It has a lot of the things that you like. It reminds me more of being tied to Jeepers Creepers in a way.
You said
that's good.
You know I love some Jeepers Creepers. You
I do
said
like
the words "Raising Dion." Do we have the same concerns here that we had during Raising Dion? Because Raising Dion,
No.
Raising Dion had Michael B. Jordan, and that didn't save it. So I mean,
No.
Raising Dion made me want to postpone having kids.
Legit.
Raising Dion made me mad. I didn't take my son to the audition. Like, boy, you could have done better than this.
Is that the title of this episode? Raising Dion made me.
Yeah.
What Raising Dion did for you?
No, because I did see the casting call for the little boy.
Me.
They were looking for kids that were like age 6 to 8 or something like that. And my kid was aged out, so I just didn't bother to go. Because best believe, if we was doing a Michael B. Jordan film and there was an opportunity to get up in there, I'd have been up in it. So,
we know.
Yeah.
You should have lied.
You both would have been asking for the casting call. It wouldn't have been just your speech.
Man, you should have told he was a tall 10-year-old, bitch.
That is.
He is a tall 10-year-old, but he ain't 8. So, yeah, he's too big. He's a lot bigger than that little boy they picked. All right, y'all. I'm gonna hop into the news. Not the news. Damn, where we at? I'm gonna get into the notes at the end of the show right now. Do not forget, NJL is playing D&D on Twitch and YouTube. We have an outstanding DM who you may recognize from this very episode if you watch us on Twitch. Not going to tell you who that was, even though the cackle may have given it away. But seriously,
it is a cackle too.
It is.
Yeah,
it really is.
If you're interested in any type of tabletop gaming, want to know what Dungeons and Dragons is, not really familiar with it, or if you are familiar with it and you just want to see us play because we're cool like that, make sure you're on our Twitch. And if you don't make it to the live sessions, we do archive on YouTube so you can either catch up or see what it is we're doing. And we do that about every other week, but there may be an uptick in frequency if y'all are really into it, which it looks like you might be. Also, subscribe to us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Google Play, wherever you are listening to podcasts, wherever you're listening to me right now, make sure you are subscribed. Follow us on Twitter at Black Nerd Cast, Black Nerd CAST as in podcast. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Negro Justice League. Check out negrojusticeleague.com. Follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Black Nerd Cast. That is where all of our live content is going to be. And there will also be an additional uptick in the live content. And you're definitely going to want to be there when that goes down. And make sure you're rating and reviewing us everywhere you find us, particularly iTunes, Facebook, some of your more visible platforms. Make sure you're giving us ratings so that other people can find us. On the next episode, we will be covering Netflix's Martin Scorsese film, The Irishman, which has an outstanding cast. Should be an excellent film, but the reviews are not that great. So we'll be watching that, hopefully, and we'll be talking about it regardless. We're also going to be talking about Knives Out. That is your Clue, Guess Who, murder mystery starring a whole bunch of people as well, which is getting excellent reviews. So we'll be covering both of those. That is in the movie theaters, though, so you're not going to be able to catch that on Netflix just yet. But that is all for this week. We'll be back with episode 88 with both of those movies. Enjoy your weekend. I don't know what day it is for y'all because it's a podcast. So enjoy whatever you're doing for the rest of the day. Holla at me. I'm Cherry. This is the Negro Justice League.